Hello class, thanks for coming to Art Appreciations this week. Today we're going to talk about some topics that we went over last week, and that's going to help us better dive into our topic for this week. So can anyone tell me from last week, what is subject?
That's the topic of the painting, what it's about.
Perfect, thank you, Ben. And can anyone tell me what composition is?
Composition is the arrangement of elements in the drawing.
Thank you, Tia. Perfect. Okay. And then when we talk about composition, something that comes right in hand with that is the elements of art and design and also the principles of art and design. Those have a few different things involved in each. Can either of you tell me what elements of art and design that we talked about last week?
Like shape, space, texture.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, how about principles? Tia, do you remember any of the principles from last week?
Yeah, principles are more like emphasis, rhythm, and balance.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. A couple other things would be like unity, variety, movement, things like that. And so also we talked about perspective. And Ben, can you tell me what perspective means?
It's like adding depth where you put 3 dimensions in a 2-dimensional field.
Perfect. Okay. And then let's see here. So here are these are the lists that we went over last week of the elements and the principles of art and design. Specifically this week, we're going to be talking a lot about space and how that's created using lines and texture. And then with the principles of art and design, we're going to talk about pattern, contrast, emphasis, and then rhythm and movement. And so for this week, also the perspective, we talked about 1 point and 2 point. There is multi-point perspective, and I say that just to warn you because we've got some things coming up that might kind of throw you off. So this week we're going to talk about Surrealism, which is an art movement that started in the 1920s, and it has to do with basically the unconscious mind, thinking of things that are dreamlike or otherworldly, and allowing our mind to kind of wander. And the artist we're going to talk about today is M.C. Escher. This is the drawing. It's called Relativity, and this is a lithograph from 1959. I just want you to take a couple minutes, just kind of soak it in, look over what you think, keep in mind those principles and elements of art and design. So I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to check it out. Okay. Can any of you tell me what the subject of the drawing is about?
It looks like a room with staircases.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, like multiple rooms and entryways and exits to and from. Perfect. Can you see how space is being created in this image, Ben? Do you see any evidence to that?
The walls that kind of enclose all the rooms on the edges.
Okay. How about the arches and that kind of information you're getting from the outside? I think that kind of helps with the space aspect too. Do you see any patterns in this image?
Yeah, especially with the stairs and the arches, they make similar lines that create patterns throughout.
Perfect. Yeah, and you can also see some of these little hatchings that he's got adding value. Those are going to also give us some patterns as well. Ben, do you see how contrast is being used in this image?
Shading gives a lot of depth, especially when you're looking at it from all these different perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Let's see. And so just to follow up with Ben's, do you see how emphasis is being placed in this picture, Tia?
Yeah, especially on the areas that are highly contrasted, so you can focus on the image of the stairs and the rooms.
Perfect. Okay. And then, Ben, do you notice any rhythms through this?
The way the stairs kind of move you inwards in the drawing.
Okay. And then, once again, we were talking about perspectives, and Ben brought it up again. Tia, do you notice that the different perspectives in here? Are there different perspectives that you're seeing?
It looks like there are a lot, but they're hard to pick out because they sort of overlap each other.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is basically a visual paradox. The stairs are leading upwards, upside down, backwards, forwards. None of them are really leading to the place where they're going to be the same level. And so each of those perspectives kind of is like its own little world. Perfect. Okay, you guys did a great job. So this week we went over the subject, the composition, what those two terms mean. We also talked about the elements of art and design, the line, the value, things like that. Principles of art and design are how you use the elements. They're the tools that we use to create a composition. And those include rhythm, unity, pattern, and we were able to use all those things that we just learned last week and looking at that picture by M.C. Escher. Also, perspective played a big part in this this picture, just because it has so many different areas where it's pulling your eye that it can kind of trick you into thinking. So let's see here. So next week we're going to go over Surrealism again. We're going to further on into two new artists, Salvador Dali and Andre Breton. And they kind of use objects and elements of our everyday life in a very dreamlike state. And so we're going to look at how they use those elements from our everyday lives and kind of mix it up to make it seem like a dreamlike or unconscious state. All right, thank you.